Hello, my name is Ella Schmidt and I'm going to be talking about our joints and how they move today. The first set of movements we're going to be doing is called flexion and extension. Flexion is when you decrease the angle between your bones in a flexing fashion, and extension is when you increase that angle and you straighten out that joint. These mainly have to do with our hinge joints, which are located in our elbows and our knees. So this is flexion, extension when it comes to our arms. Then for our legs, it looks like this. This is flexion. Notice how I'm flexing my leg to decrease that angle, and extension, I'm straightening out. Our next movement has to focus on the balls and socket joints we have in our shoulders and our hips, and it's called abduction and adduction. This movement is basically our jumping jack motion here. When I bring my arms away from the medial plane, so if my body's in medial, when I bring my arms away from the medial, that is abduction. And then when I add them back to my side, that's adduction. Abduction, adduction. This stretch super well for this, but when I'm bringing my leg away from the center, that is abduction, adduction. Abduction, adduction. Next, I'm going to talk about protraction and retraction, and this mainly pertains to our shoulders, more specifically our scapula. So for this next one, it's only going to be your shoulder moving, and you want to picture it like it's on a plane parallel to the ground. So let me explain. So you're going to start with your shoulder in a neutral position, just relax. You're going to stick your arm parallel to the ground, and then when you're doing what's called protraction, you are pushing that shoulder forward. Notice how I'm not pushing it down, I'm not pushing it up, I'm pushing it straight forward, I'm pushing it parallel against the ground. So that's called protraction, where I'm pushing it. Next, bring it back to that neutral position. We're going to do what's called retraction, where you retract your shoulder backwards. You're almost reeling it in, you're pulling it back, and it puts pressure on that scapula. It pushes it backwards. So this is protraction, retraction. This next movement also focuses on the ball and socket joints in our shoulders and our hips, and it is called circumduction. Circumduction is when the proximal side remains fixed, when the distal end is moving in a circular motion. So this can happen with our arms or our legs. And so it just looks like an arm circle. My shoulder's a little messed up so you can hear a crack. So that's circumduction of the shoulder. And then for our hips, it would look like this, or our legs. So that is circumduction. The next movement is called rotation, and just like how it sounds, it's when a joint rotates around its axis. A way you can remember this is you gotta rotate your head before you cross the road. You want to look left and right, make sure it's clear before you cross the road. So that's your head when it rotates. And then, like I said, it also applies to your hips. You can rotate it left and right. The next movement is supination and pronation, which has to do with our pivotal joints found in our wrists and our ankles. For our arms, this is supine position, this is pronation position. So think supine, you're almost serving dinner with someone. So you're serving it. In order to serve something, you have to have your hand in supine position. Pronation, I like to think I just painted my nails, so I have to put my hand in pronation in order to show off the nails. So serving supper, supination, painted nails, pronation. For the feet, it's slightly different. It has to do with how you walk on your feet. If you walk with more pressure on the outside of your feet, that's supination. If you walk with it more inside, that is pronation. So think when you turn your wrist this way to supine position, that's going to be the outside of your foot, similar to palm down, will be the inside of your foot. So mirroring that will kind of help you remember those movements. The last movement is dorsiflexion and plantar flexion, and this pertains to our foot. So dorsiflexion is when I am bringing my toes upwards, I'm decreasing that angle between the foot and the tibia. Plantar flexion is when I'm planting those toes towards the ground and I'm increasing the angle between those two bones. Dorsiflexion, plantar flexion. Think we're planting our toes to the ground, so it's downwards. That's the end of our chapter. I hope this helped.